digital transformation team, in that we're formally announcing our network of HSE digital living labs. And we'll be talking to, or having many of the people that are collaborating with us speaking about what each living lab is about. As Ross said, we have a really packed agenda, so I'm going to move quickly through my set of slides, which is all about innovating with digital living labs. The OECD recently published a report, and it talked about healthcare being a decade behind other industries in digitalizing. It also calls out Ireland as a laggard and being, so we interpret the report as saying that we're 2 to 4 years behind actually mainstream Europe. So last April, we started a journey to undergo a digital transformation. We started with the digital transformation workshop in Maynooth University. And since then, we've been making actually big leaps and strides in terms of the transformation agenda for the HSE, the digital transformation agenda. So when we talk about digital transformation, we mean digital transformation being coordinated digital change effort at scale throughout all aspects of the organization, of the ecosystem. And one manifestation of this is our new Masters in Digital Health Transformation. And we've recently initiated 21 digital health change projects across the HSE and the broader ecosystem. We currently have an open call for the 2021 Masters. We've had more than 400 expressions of interest. So we have decided with UL to extend the deadline to October the 30th at noon. So I would certainly encourage you, if you're interested in this Masters, to please apply at the link digitalhealthtransformation.ie. Paul Reid obviously has a digital background from his Aircom days and has been a strong supporter of digital transformation. And the quote from Paul is, "Digital is an important tool in fighting COVID-19 and modernizing the broader health service." As examples, remote monitoring of COVID-19 patients and video consultations have been very important during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're very appreciative of Paul's support for digital transformation. This is the Digital Academy Forum. We started this forum about 9 months ago, and it's about sharing, spreading, socializing and solutionizing new ideas and solutions for Ireland and beyond. We model it on TED Talks, and each of the talks you'll hear today, including mine, will be 15 minutes in duration. As I said at the outset, we're very proud. I'm very proud to work with a whole network of partners from across the country on unveiling HSE digital labs. All of our efforts are aligned with the Sláinte Care agenda of Stay Left, Shift Left. We're working to find technology interventions that reduce the cost of care, improve quality of life, improve quality of care, and also enhance the clinician experience. So what is a living lab? And we'll have Fernando talk after me. He'll go into more detail. But essentially, a living lab has 4 characteristics. It's a user-centered, open innovation ecosystem and environment. Very often it's operated in a territorial context, but it actually can be operated as a virtual living lab, and we'll give you an example of that later on. Importantly, it's about integrating concurrent research and innovation processes, and particularly in the context of a public-private people partnership context. So if we were to visually look at a living lab, we would have some public actors, in this case, the HSE, the Department of Health. It would have some knowledge institutes involved when we're working with a variety of knowledge institutes across the different living labs. There will be some private actors, but most importantly, actually, is the users or the patients. So Catherine McGuigan will talk later on about the living lab in Wexford. And here are some of the partners, but as I said, most important are the patients or citizens. And we have the opportunity to co-create, co-innovate, and co-learn with patients, so we get solutions that actually really meet their needs. So this is a slide introducing our digital living labs, and there's a picture there of Ross, that fine young man who actually is responsible for leading these. In our digital labs portfolio, we have over 50 promising technologies, digital technologies, that we're actively managing in a portfolio, and we actually review these on a weekly basis. Each digital solution passes through 4 phases if it's successful. First, we do exploration, and over 50% of the portfolio currently is in exploration. Then the next key step is to set up a proof of concept or a pilot. The following step, if the pilot is successful, is we move to a demonstrator, and we're really delighted that we can talk about 2 or 3 pilots that are graduating today from the pilot phase to a demonstrator phase. And then lastly, we go to broad adoption. Now, because of the COVID-19 crisis, we were able to actually accelerate this pipeline, the innovation pipeline. It could take a year for an idea to go from exploration to broad adoption, and that's if we are lucky. But we've had a number of applications that went from exploration to broad adoption in the space of 3 to 4 weeks. One example of that was the Patient Empower COVID-19 remote monitoring app. And from the time of announcement of the launch of this at the IIEA to being prescribed by over 20 acute hospitals, it was less than 30 days duration. So COVID certainly has been an enabler for digital innovation. This is a map of the network of living labs. So we certainly have quite a few in Dublin, but we're everywhere from Cavan to Sligo, to Cork, to Portiuncula Hospital, to Roscommon University Hospital. And we're going to hear presentations from each of the leaders in those areas. We have more living labs that are cooking, for example, a very interesting digital sleep lab under John Garvey in St. Vincent's University Hospital, and in our Winter Digital Academy Forum, we'll be hearing from 5, 6, or 7 other living labs that are currently in the pipeline. So our agenda today is substantially built around presentation from each of the living lab leaders. I really want to highlight and congratulate the team in Cavan, led by Ronnie McDermott and Ger Geigen and team. And they actually started a living lab just before COVID hit. It had to be temporarily postponed, but has been reconstituted. And today, the Cavan Vital Signs Automation team is moving from a pilot to a national demonstrator. And we're going to hear from one of the nurse managers with Ronnie later on in the talk today. We actually try to be a bit scientific around these living labs, and we use a methodology called value dials to actually look. We do a baseline, and we actually had help from the Health Innovation Hub to do the baseline in Cavan, and then we deploy the technology, and then we look at value dials such as, for example, reductions in average length of service or length of stay, improvements in staff productivity, and so on. So as we work with these living labs, we'll be applying this financial discipline and methodology to actually measuring the improvement so we can build business cases for demonstrators and broad adoption. I wanted to commend Niall Halliday, who's done outstanding work in Drogheda and Dundalk around virtual rehab. And this POC started actually in Drogheda and Dundalk, but actually very quickly graduated to many other sites across the country. And today we mark the graduation to demonstrator of the virtual rehab living lab. We're currently in the middle of a tendering process, so we thought it wasn't appropriate for Niall to present today, but he will be presenting at the Q4 now. I mentioned about the COVID-19 remote monitoring app from Patient Empower, and we're delighted to extend that solution. In the past, for a COVID-19 patient, they were presented with a pulse oximeter and a digital app. For long-term respiratory issues, patients will also receive a digital spirometer. And some of the areas that we'll be covering in this virtual respiratory lab are patients with pulmonary fibrosis, cystic fibrosis, and COPD. And we expect this virtual lab will extend to about 500 patients as we go through the winter period. So it's really great to see this graduation of the proof of concept to a demonstrator. We're delighted to announce a collaboration between Centric Health, Donald Bailey and his team, with Roche, led by Len Marshall in Ireland, and the HSE Digital Transformation team. And what we are doing and what Centric have been doing, they have a small lab currently operational with 25 patients who are receiving or there's a two-way communication on twice a week to a remote support and management team. At this time, I'm just going to break for a minute, and I'm going to bring in Joachim Berlehaus from Roche in the Roche corporate headquarters in Switzerland. Ask Jochen, could you comment on the importance of this lab and what benefits we can expect to see?
Yes, hi everybody. Thanks, Martin, for giving me the opportunity to add a few comments here. Great event here, and yeah, I mean, I'm heading digital health innovation here at Roche Diagnostics in Switzerland. We have been looking into disease management for quite a few years in heart failure. And we also have learned what it takes to really make this successful. And Martin, you mentioned exactly the right points. It's about co-creation. It's about bringing the right stakeholders together. It's ultimately also obviously about working with the patient from the beginning, because you need to engage him, you need to see in what setting he is, his real life, but then you also need to change clinical practice. So very closely working with the GPs is really very necessary to make this successful. And then last but not least, having the payer in mind, having the health economic aspects in mind. And we believe with Donald and his team and his network and with the Living Lab, we really found a very, very good environment to drive this forward. So we're really looking forward to that project. Thanks.
Great, Jochen. Appreciate that. And thanks very much to Donal and Matt at the Centric team for really being the drivers of this. And we look forward to some great results moving forward. I just want to give a brief update. We talked about the HANDS project at several, or in fact, 2 quarters ago. We're very close to going live on this. We have a friends and family trial currently running, and working with Dublin City Council, we hope to be in a position to announce the formal operation of this project sometime in November. And as Steve Jobs used to say, and one more thing, what we're going to talk about now, I think is actually extremely timely. The country faces actually a very significant crisis. We all know that NEPID recommended the country to move to level 5 in terms of the COVID framework. But we think there's a potential opportunity to do something different. COVID is a network disease. It thrives on the network. And by applying principles of network-centered warfare and using digital technologies, we think there's an opportunity to fight COVID in a totally different way. So I'll shortly be introducing Robert Quirke from the Rocky Group. But today what we're going to do is I'll have a rapid antigen test and a rapid antibody test performed on in the next minute or so. And Robert will be demonstrating a new approach to COVID-19 digital passport. This is a new technology developed by Rocky. We'd like you very much to be part of this experiment, or to actually test the viability of this. So I encourage you to download the Health Passport scanner. If you go to the App Store and Google Play, so if you search on Health Passport scanner or Health Passport Ireland, you'll be able to download the scanner. And what we're hoping, these are some slide shots of the passport application, which I'm currently enrolled in. The screen on the left shows the welcome screen. The screen on the middle actually shows my current status, which is amber. It's because it's unknown. And associated with that on the right-hand screen is a QR code. And you will all have the opportunity to scan my phone when I put it up to the screen after performing the test. Now, these tests are truly rapid. We'll perform an antigen test, which is a 15-minute test. And we're delighted we have Liz Connolly here, who's an infection control nurse who will be performing the test. The rapid antibody test is 10 minutes. So what I'll be doing, we'll be talking to Robert now. We'll have the test perform, and then we'll have Fernando present, and then we'll return to me and Robert, and we'll find out what the results of my test are. So I'd encourage you to download the Health Passport scanner. So you can just go to Google Play or the App Store. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see my, you can actually watch this test happening. And I want to introduce Robert Quirke to talk about the health passport app. So Robert, while I'm sorting my screen out, can you tell us a little bit about the vision for Health Passport Ireland?
The Health Passport Ireland has been designed to do 2 things. So one is to stop the continued spread of COVID-19 by introducing increased screening measures. And number 2 is designed to help protect our economy by helping to keep businesses open. So this is a common platform for all businesses to use across multiple industries. The system has been deployed for a number of weeks in Ireland. During that time, we've been performing rapid antigen tests at schools, nursing homes, businesses across the country. So we're going to just try and turn this off. So is the camera on at the moment, or is it there?
I'm afraid not, Martin.
Sharing?
Unfortunately, you can only do that.
Okay, let's have a quick look here. I'll see that. Okay, so now we should be back to the screen now.
Great, we can see that.
Okay, so Martin's going to have a rapid antigen test, and this is the first ever live stream of a rapid antigen test in Ireland. So Liz is going to perform a nasal swab. So this is a shallow nasal swab, which is only 2 centimeters deep. And while that's being processed now, it's going to be put into an analyzer. And the results of that will be available in about 15 minutes. So this here is a cartridge, which the sample is put into. And I will show you the analyzer in just a moment. So now Martin's going to have a very quick IgM antibody test. It will take about 10 minutes. So what happens now is that right now, Ireland is about to go into a level 5 lockdown. And that means that businesses, travel, is going to be completely shut down, which leads to a loss of jobs and a really hard impact on our economy. So using systems like the Health Passport Ireland and the Health Passport Scanner is going to absolutely help to reduce that. It even means that instead of going to a level 5, we can be brought to either level 2 or level 3 by having increased screening. So we've been working with the leading pharmacy groups in Ireland, and we brought all the parties to the table, which means that this is ready for a national deployment. We want to make sure that rapid testing is available to all people at all times for a very, very affordable price. So just put that to Martin there. So what we're going to do is going to wait for the results to come in, and Martin's health passport will be updated. So you can see Liz here what she's doing. This is taking the sample. And that's been placed into the analyzer. You can send you a look at this later on. So as I said, this technology is currently being used all across Europe. It's getting people onto planes, and it's at the weekend it's been approved for use in all schools in Italy. So we have to take a step forward here in Ireland by combining rapid testing for antigen and also combining the mobile technology in the health passport system to enable our economy to continue.
Well, thank you, Robert. So we're going to return in 15 minutes to the test. We'll see the results, and I'll be talking to Robert. How could this solution be potentially used in the current situation that Ireland finds itself? So I'm going to hand back to you, Ross, and you're going to introduce Fernando. Great. Thank you very much, Fernando, for a really interesting and compelling talk. So we're coming back here to Dr. Stephen's Hospital, and I'm going to invite Robert Quirke to tell us about what my test results are. I'm quite nervous.
So here we see that so Martin has been tested for a rapid antigen test and also a rapid antibody test for IgM. So here, first of all, we can see Martin Curley's health passport account. So if I look at Martin Curley's My COVID status, we can see that he's amber and he's unknown. By looking in here, we can see all of his previous test results. So this is his most recent test. And by looking down here, we can see all the previous tests he's done. So whether he's tested in Dublin or Spain or London or New York, it's all in here. And here we see where the vaccinations go. So when a vaccination becomes available in the future, they'll be right here. Unfortunately, we don't have one unless you want to take the Russian one. So what we'll do is go back here, and the analyzer has just delivered the results. So we're going to have a look at this right now. This is the analyzer. It runs on a 14-hour battery. And if we have a look here, we can see that it's negative. So the control line is good, the control test is good, and the negative test. So congratulations, Martin, you're negative for.
Thank you, Robert. Happy about that.
So in the real world scenario, what will happen now is we have the medical professional who's administered the test would update the health passport account and would save that. So once now, when I go back to check on Martin Curley's status, I see he's now green, low risk. So that means he's been tested for COVID-19, the test has come back negative, and he's now a low-risk individual for spreading COVID-19. For those of you who've downloaded the Health Passport Scanner app, you now have the opportunity to scan that mobile, that QR code. I'll hold it here so you can do that. And what you get is the result that comes back. So we can come back to this and visit that later. But that's how easy that works. So that latest test result is now saved in here in the platform, and this opens up an entire world of opportunity of how we can get our society back on track, our economy back on track, and how we can meet this virus head on.
Thank you very much, Robert. So what we've demonstrated is the rapid antibody or antigen test. We also have the rapid antibody test, and maybe so this is my antibody test. Hopefully you can see that. And also, I came negative on that. I don't have any COVID-19 antibody. Before we move to our next part of the agenda, I wanted to talk to Richard. Obviously, the country the country is in a kind of a tremendously uncertain state. We have a discussion ongoing about whether we'll move to level 5 or not. What could we immediately do with this platform and these rapid tests to actually negate the need to move to level 5 and continue to live more normally in the society?
Well, we can certainly, within the space of 14 days, deploy this technology to every pharmacy in Ireland. People should be able to have the ability to screen as necessary. So the ability to book a test very quickly at an affordable price at a place that's suitable for them. So increased screening is absolutely the way to go, and we're advocates of that. And so by doing so, we'll be able to reduce the impact of restrictions nationally. So instead of having a level 5 lockdown, we might be able to keep that at level 2 or level 3. By utilizing increased screening rapidly combined with mobile technology. So for example, if you're visiting your parents today, you could easily have a 15-minute test to know that you're at low risk of spreading the virus. Or indeed, for sporting events or for gatherings, for example, if there was a sporting event on Saturday, you could very easily be tested on Saturday morning and know that you're low risk.
Well, that's great, Robert. Well, thank you very much. Apologies for calling you Richard.
No problem.